All right, good morning, everyone, and welcome to our webinar, "'Tis the Season, Supporting Small Businesses," being hosted by the Iowa Secretary of State's Office, America's SBDC Iowa, and the Iowa Center. We are grateful to have some of your time today and eager to share some of the ways that we can all support small businesses and share some resources and information for you. While we will be offering some tips that you can take and use to decrease your chances of being affected by scams, please know that none of our offices work extensively in this area. We care about this issue, but none of us offer extensive services or resources for those of you that have been affected by this. So while we are sharing some tips, I will be sharing some resources and organizations as well with you that do work in this area that you can reach out to for some more information or guidance in that. My name is Ashley, and I'm the Business Services Outreach Specialist here at the Iowa Secretary of State's Office. This webinar is being recorded for future use, but your name and details are hidden from other participants. The recording will be sent out to everyone sometime following the webinar. So be on the lookout for that. It'll be sent to your email. And we have enabled the use of auto-generated closed captioning for this webinar. If you would like to use that feature, it's in the bottom under, like on the right side. So just click show captions there. If there's an issue with that, please let us know using the Q&A chat box so that we can restate something that needs said again. We will also have a moderated Q&A portion to conclude the webinar today. This webinar is going to be a different format than we've done before. It's a panel style webinar. So I'll be asking our panelists questions, but then we'll go ahead and have an opportunity for you all to ask questions as well. So if you have questions, please put those in the box labeled Q&A down at the bottom, and we'll do our best to answer as many of those as possible. Thank you all for joining us today for this important discussion. And now I'm going to turn it over to Secretary Pate for some remarks.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Iowa Secretary of State Paul Pate, and I want to thank you for joining us for our webinar today, featuring a number of organizations who dedicate their time and expertise to serving small business owners and entrepreneurs. As Iowa's business portal, it's important to us to connect with those of you in the business community to help you receive resources that will enable you to run successful and efficient businesses. Today's webinar will cover how we can all support small businesses and how small business owners and consumers alike can better protect themselves from being affected by scams during this holiday season and year-round. I hope that our webinar will provide useful information for you moving forward, and I invite you to keep an eye out for future webinars on a range of business-related topics. Thank you to our presenters for joining us to speak on how we can support small businesses and how both businesses and consumers alike can protect themselves from scams. I hope you all enjoy today's presentation.
All right. Thank you, Secretary Pate, for those remarks today. And now I'm going to go ahead and introduce our panelists, and then we'll get right into the questions. So Leah Locke is a Regional Director for the Iowa State University Office of America's SBDC Iowa. Her role supports Boone, Story, Marshall, and Hardin counties. As Regional Director, Leah serves as a resource and advocate for small business startups by developing financial statements, business plans, and financing applications, counsel businesses on hiring, training, and motivating employees, advising clients on marketing materials, including websites and publications, among other things. After graduating from Iowa State University, Leah spent 10 plus years working for startups and small businesses in Ames, Iowa. In her free time, Leah enjoys spending time with her family, golfing, cooking, and walking her corgi. Go Cyclones. Jose Vinales serves as the Director of Credit and Lending at the Iowa Center, where he leads initiatives supporting community economic development. With over a decade in financial services and community development financial institutions, or CDFIs, he specializes in helping small businesses thrive. As a bilingual professional, Jose is passionate about expanding access to capital and financial education for entrepreneurs. Throughout his career, he has helped hundreds of small businesses navigate financial decisions and access the capital needed for growth. Jenica is the Regional Director for the Mid-Iowa SBDC, which offers free business counseling services to small businesses and startups in Iowa. A graduate of Drake University and Drake University Law School, Jenica has worked in the entrepreneurial world in Iowa for more than a decade in a variety of roles. Thank you all again for joining us today. And now we'll go ahead and get started. So to kind of start things out, now we all know that both of your organizations deal with helping out small business owners and offering services to them, counseling, etc. So to kind of start things out, can you please share What is your organization's role in serving the small business community? What services do you provide to small business owners and entrepreneurs? How do those work? Thank you.
I guess I can start. Hi, everyone. I'm Jenica Johnson. I'm the Regional Director for the Mid-Iowa Small Business Development Center. If it wasn't clear from our bios, Leah and I are in the same organization, the Small Business Development Center of Iowa, and we offer free, no cost business counseling services to small businesses in Iowa. We can essentially meet the business owner wherever they're at in their life cycle and try and help in any way that we can. We pride ourselves in being able to identify issues and assist a business owner in working through complicated topics. And if we are unable to assist in some way, we also will be a connector and a referral source in a variety of different topics. We can't be an expert in everything by any means, but we expect business owners to be an expert in their own business, and then we can hopefully connect them to the experts that they need as well. As I mentioned, my offices are located in Windsor Heights. So I cover the 5 counties around Des Moines, but our SBDC statewide covers all 99 counties, and we would have an SBDC director near you wherever you're at in the state.
Awesome. Jose Anales, I'm the Director of Credit and Lending here at the Iowa Center. One of the things that we do here at the Iowa Center, like my bio say, we're an economic development organization that helps small businesses. And we do that in 3 different line of service. The first one is we do business tax credits. That's something that we launched this year just to help the businesses with the taxes that they need to do throughout the year. We also do business coaching similar to what Leah and Jenica do, is at no cost as well. And one of the things that we like about the coaching, like Jenica mentioned, is like, as business owners, you know how to sell your product, you know about your product, and you know about your service. We're here to provide you with the tools, the advice, and that education that you need for the back of the house of your business. And also to make those connections with the right partners in the community. Some people might have it easy to have access to some networking and some partners, such an accountant or an attorney. But if you don't, you can also reach out to us here at the Iowa Center, and we'll put you in contact with those individuals. And the last line of service that we have is access to capital. At the Iowa Center, we are SBA micro lender and also a CDFI, and we can do some small business lending. But not only that, just like the SBDC does, we also want to provide you with the right tools so you are ready to submit an application to a regular financial institution when you're looking to get access to capital.
Thank you. And then how do both of your organizations define small business, right? Like, I know that can kind of vary. So I guess kind of how do your organizations individually define small business, and how did that definition kind of come about? Like, what qualifies for you? Thanks.
Cool. I'll follow it up from just to keep talking. For the Iowa Center, any business that has less than 500 employees is qualified as small business. It doesn't matter where you are in the journey of your business, if you are a startup or if you've been in business for a while and you need some help in the education or the access to capital or the tax services, we can provide you with those services. It's more about we meet you where your needs are, and the only qualification that we have is less than 500 employees.
We should mention that SBDC is a SBA resource partner, and therefore our definition of small business is defined by the Federal Small Business Administration. But exactly like Jose said, it's 500 employees or less. There's some limitations on industries and things that we may not be able to work with, but would always try and help in any way that we can, whether that's referring maybe over to Jose if it's something that we have a limitation on. But otherwise, 500 employees or less is pretty much our small business, and we very rarely hit that.
Good to know. Thank you. And I apologize, Jose, if I actually cut you off. I'm sorry. I got a chat message, so I was making sure to get that answered correctly. But thank you both. That makes sense. So another thing is that we know that obviously people can support small businesses by choosing their products to buy, or their services to buy. But what are some of the ways, in your view, that are most effective, that are non-financial, that people can support small businesses in their communities and maybe statewide as well? And then kind of going along with that, do you have information on the impacts of supporting small businesses, whether that be financial or non-financial impacts, based on what your clients have shared that you'd like to share with us? Thanks.
I can jump in here. I think one of the most kind of effective non-financial ways of supporting a small business is just following them on their social media networks, tagging friends, sharing out their posts, saying, hey, check out this cool thing that this person's doing. So I think just sharing it with your network, sharing it with the folks that are out in your community or beyond, can be a really big impact as well.
And it's kind of financial, but buying a gift card is always a nice way to not only help a small business, but also bring in someone who might not know about that small business by gifting a gift card to someone who may not know about them. That's one of the best ways to be able to share information about small businesses to people who may not have known about them in advance.
Yeah, I will agree with Jenny and Leah. I think non-financially is more being an advocate for those businesses that you frequently visit. You want to keep it local. You want to keep it in-house. You want to keep doing things in your towns, and I think that's one of the most important things to do as a consumer is just be an advocate because you want to keep the business going.
I also
Those are all
want to make sure that I say, don't forget to support them, not just during the holidays, continue to follow them all year round. Shop local. There is also, I want to give a shout out to shopiowa.com is a website that is partially sponsored, I don't want to speak incorrectly, by the state of Iowa in order to allow very small businesses and Main Street businesses to have an online presence. And so you are able to go and find small businesses all throughout Iowa on one website. So shopiowa.com.
Those are all great. Thank you. And then good point, Jenica. I'll go ahead and send a link to that for everyone. And yes, I believe it's economic development that puts that on. So speaking of, and good point as well, it's important to support year round. So speaking of like resources, right? Can you all maybe tell us about some resources that you recommend for small businesses to utilize going into the holiday season, or if it's not necessarily the holiday season, just any seasons that are busy for them? And then do you have any advice for maybe new business owners navigating that busyness, whether that be resources or just a method to keep organized or anything else that comes to mind?
I think I will, being on credit and lending, I will talk more on the financial side of things. As the holiday comes, if you're a business that been in business before, I think it is very important to review your financial statements because your financial statements are going to tell you a lot about how your business did last year and what are some of the things that you need to be prepared for this holiday season. I know we're probably too late for the holiday season to be doing some planning, but I think it is important just to look at what were your sales, what were your expenses in the past years, just to be prepared to what you need. Because one of the things that you need to be doing is being prepared for having more cash flow during that season because you're going to be buying more supplies, you're going to be buying more inventory, And that means that you're going to have more expenses. Yeah, you're going to have more money coming in into your business, but you need to be prepared to spend money. It's one of the things that we say, you got to spend money to make money. So how do we stay prepared for those holiday season? And the other thing is, if you are a business is that is giving a product, and you have a holiday product, you got to make sure that you put that out right away. Like, we're already in November, but you need, if you haven't put it out, and you're going to be selling that product for the holiday season, put it out right away, because people need to know. You need to market that as much as you can, to make sure that you're getting people interested on your product or services that you're providing.
I'll touch a little bit on just the other resources that are available out there. There are a ton of resources available in the state of Iowa. Our state does a really good job of trying to make sure that we find ways to support small businesses. Reach out to your local chambers if you have questions about connecting to people. The SBDC, as I mentioned, is a statewide organization. The Iowa Center is a statewide organization. There are people out there that are willing to just talk with you about strategy. And like Jose said, I am not a financial person, but I'll connect you with Jose to talk about your financials if you have questions about those things. And please feel free to reach out to other business owners and connect with them as well if you have something that you're struggling with or questions. The Iowa Nice thing is real, and hopefully a lot of people in the holiday season get in the spirit and will even be helpful in those ways as well. So the resources are there. The best thing that you can do is just reach out and ask the first question, and hopefully whoever you start with can get you to the right place.
And Jenica says something like, hit the spot right there. Just ask other business owners, especially if you're a new business, and it's your first holiday season. Reach out to those business owners that might be, if you're in retail, there might be business owners that are close to your location. Here in Iowa, we're pretty good about sharing information, and the best information is going to come from another business owners for sure.
So all great points. Thank you very much. And then what does supporting small mean to you personally?
I think it's just, it's the people that are in your network, in your town, in your area. It's the person that maybe, you get your coffee from every day, and they ask, hey, how are your kids, or how was your weekend? So I think it's really just building that community and knowing that you're supporting, your friends and your neighbors.
For me, just like Leah says, just supporting your community. But one of the things that we did a study here at the Iowa Center, where about more than 40%, between 40 and 45% of the small businesses are supporting jobs in Iowa. The jobs are coming from small businesses. So making sure that you're buying local, that you're shopping local, that your service out local are very important for the community, because you are paying in a way for those jobs that are out there, and you want to keep your community going and thriving. There are some studies in central Iowa that are talking about having, let's say, more restaurants or more things to do. And those are one of the things, like, while you keep it local, you're gonna have more people in your town. And I think that's supporting your community.
And I would just like to note that the small businesses are the ones that give back the most to each community. They're the ones who sponsor local baseball teams and assist with fundraisers, and are the ones that are going to be showing up at parades and everything that you want a small community engagement to be. Those are going to be the small businesses in your area that are going to do those things. So if you show them support, they'll show you support back.
That's great. Thank you. Let's see. And I can say from my own experience too, I've worked for small businesses before, and it definitely is a very cool feeling to have people return and come back and be supportive, and for those businesses to also support each other. So good points, and thank you all. Can you tell us about some smart and cost-effective safeguards that business owners and entrepreneurs can utilize to better protect sensitive client information and reduce the risk of being affected by scams, kind of just overall? I know we're not going to kind of do a deep dive into it, but just like some basic level resources that you know of that are maybe cost effective or good for business owners to look into in that regard.
Like you mentioned, that's not something that we do as much, but here some clients that we have had in the past, we want to preach some of the things that we do here. When you keep confidential information for your clients, if you're keeping credit card information, if you're keeping their address or anything like that, one of the things that you have to do to be prepared, not only for the holiday season, but all the time, is just trying to have that IT or that cybersecurity company that is working with you to make sure that you are protected, because the majority of the scams are going to happen on small businesses that don't have that cybersecurity insurance or that cybersecurity company that is providing the service, because the cybersecurity theft are gonna target those small businesses that are keeping that confidential information, and that's when the breaches happen. So that could affect your business, that could affect the credibility of your business. So make sure that you're protecting not yourself as a business, but you're protecting the people that are getting the products and services from you.
It's a good
I guess
point.
the one thing that I will say is just do your research, and before you act, reach out to another business owner and ask them if it's something that they've dealt with. Reach out to one of the resources that's provided here. Be sure that you don't react quickly to anything that looks or feels a little bit strange. And that's the cheapest, best advice that I can give.
That's great. Thank you. Then I guess I know that cybersecurity stuff can be maybe some people aren't as familiar with it, I guess. So I guess, is there like a resource that you recommend, or like something that you recommend looking out for regarding like a good, trustworthy cybersecurity company to hire, whether that be like for insurance or just consulting or something like that? Is there a resource you recommend like looking for that information at, Jose? Thank you.
There's not a specific thing that I can recommend. I think, if you're using a merchant service that is keeping some of that information, just make sure that you're talking to your representative about, hey, what's going to happen with the security of all this information that I'm collecting, that I'm gathering, especially if you're taking purchases online. What's going to happen with that? But in the other hand, that's the first step to the security for your clients. The other one is just reaching out to your insurance agent and talking about, hey, what are some of the coverage that I could have for cybersecurity or anything like that? Because one thing is having a software that is going to keep you protected, but what is that backup if something would happen and the information will get stolen? And just like Jenica said, just make sure that you're having trainings with your employees and yourself, just keeping up to date on what's happening. There's a lot of, like you mentioned, Ashley, there's there might be some emails, some phishing emails. Just make sure that you are paying attention, that you're reading everything. During the holidays, some people are going to try to take advantage of you being busy, and they're going to send things that are too good to be true, or things that are going to be time sensitive, such as, let's say, you might get an email saying like, hey, here's your package, or you have to pay for this invoice so you can get your supplies in the next couple of days or something like that. Make sure that you're paying attention to all those things so you don't compromise all the information that you have already inside your business.
That's great. Thank you. Yeah, definitely very.
I guess shameless SBDC plug on our website. We do have under our resources some cybersecurity webinar links and a cybersecurity guide that you're able to download.
Thank you to both of you, and I will get the link for that as well to everyone. That is I know that that's a resource. That booklet is a resource that our offices put together. So. I guess another question is, we talked about like the busy times of year, but do you want to go over how your clients' needs kind of fluctuate throughout the year, and what new business owners and entrepreneurs can kind of anticipate and prepare for, or what they can do, in a less busy season? I know we mentioned some tips, Jose, that you said that they need to like pay attention to financials and stuff to get ready for the busy season. I guess what other things kind of come to mind? I know this is very broad and it can really just depend on the industry and the business itself, but kind of overarching, generally, what kind of have you heard or advised clients on that works best for kind of preparing in those less busy months, or really just kind of diving into it and really going for it during those busier months? Thanks.
I'd say when business owners feel like they have a little bit of downtime, which I recognize some don't ever feel that way, and that's okay too. But just setting aside intentional time to plan, even if that's like, hey, what do I want to do this next month? Or, hey, it's the summer, but I'm already going to start thinking about the holiday season so that it's not quite so overwhelming when it does come. So I think that's a tip that I always give folks that I work with is just, even when you feel like you don't have the time to do it, sitting down to plan, whether that's your next week, month, whatever that might look like for you, I think can be really helpful to have it be a little bit less daunting when it's kind of in the moment.
Yeah, just to follow up, Leah, there are businesses that are going to be busy, especially retail on this holiday season. But what about those businesses that are more labor driven, that are going to have downtime? I think for those business owners, it's time to do the strategic planning for 2025, and maybe even more years. So downtime is good for business sometimes to have that planning. Not only that, right now, preparing for tax season, I think is super important, especially at the end of the year. It's better to be prepared for taxes than not to be prepared, and try to gather all the documentation in March, especially for businesses. If you have the time now, do it. And from the credit and lending side, for those businesses that have downtime right now, I think it's important to get their financing plan going, especially if they're looking to have some access to capital. Right now is the time to get the access to capital, because I'm going to have projects going on in 2025. So some businesses might need some financing. It could be a term loan, or it could be a line of credit. Well, if you have the downtime right now, it's time to gather all those documents, go to your financial institution, get that line of credit for cash flow that you really need for 2025, the beginning of 2025. So make sure that you have enough cash flow to fund your business.
So good points. Thank you. And I know that I didn't send you all this question beforehand. I just thought of it. So while we were talking about, strategic planning, that was brought up a little bit. In terms of business plans, do your organizations have resources for business planning or templates or anything like that people can utilize and kind of use for this part of the year, or just any part of the year, and where can they access those resources at?
I will let you guys answer that. You're better at the Iowa Center with business plan. So there you go.
I noticed we all unmuted at the same time. SBDC certainly has those resources. They're not time dependent per se. You know, we can kind of finagle, for lack of a better term, as needed if there's kind of a certain point in the year that you're really wanting to plan for, or those kinds of things. But we certainly do have various exercises, templates. We have access to a few different kind of software options if that's the way that business owners want to go. But yes, we can certainly kind of talk through what is a business plan from a, you know, conceptual idea of, you know, just kind of getting started up through more of a, you know, a planning document for looking at future years.
And I'll just note quickly that sometimes it's important to remember that the important part of writing a business plan is not the final document. It's the actual planning portion, and the strategic thought process that goes into that is more of an exercise that you should be doing consistently. And whether that's just by yourself, sitting down and getting some of your thoughts on paper, or if it's working with a counselor of some sort to work through some of those plans. But the business planning and understanding your market and your customer and your product lines and your pricing, understanding all of those pieces is more important than any final document of a business plan will ever be. Because if you don't have those exercises done, if you haven't thought through those things, you can't write a business plan that will do you any good in the future. So we have, again, ditto what Leah said, we do have different things that we can use and assistance that we can offer in those ways, but I just wanted to make sure I mentioned that as well.
As far and those are good. Leah and Jenica, SBDC, they put the best business plans that you will see here in Iowa, and that's for sure. They have a good program to go to, and like Jenica said, a business plan has so many different aspects. It's a big document, and sometimes you're just looking for something very specific. But a business plan is something that is a living, breathing document. You're always going to be updating. You do it at the beginning, but then you're going to be updating, and that then become that strategic planning, that project that you're going to have for following years or months, however you want to put it. Here at the Iowa Center, we have what is called Always Ready series of classes, and we have one that is specific for business plan. But like Jenica said, you know, sometimes it's not just about the writing and the research. There are some specific things that you are going to be looking at. For example, on that same Always Ready, we have a class that is financials, and that's going to help you with the financials that you're going to need for that business plan. And we also have the marketing Always Ready, that it put everything combined for that. So if you go into our website, you can sign up for the classes. Those are free classes, and that then allow you to have a one-on-one coaching with our coaches, and that after the class you can work on your business plan or the marketing plan, whatever the case is, and then you can reach out to one of the coaches and be like, hey, can you review this for me, and let's work one-on-one on what we really need.
Awesome. Thank you all. And everyone, I did just go ahead and put some resources in the chat. I'm going to go ahead and put more in a bit here. But I just put links to SBDC's website, and all of their locations for their various offices are listed on that website as well. And I put the link to the Iowa Center's website and the link to our office's website as well, and then to our business resources webpage specifically, which has some more links to some other organizations' websites that serve small businesses and like businesses besides small businesses too. But okay, so I know we have some questions coming in. I'm gonna go over some tips really fast to kind of decrease your chance of being affected by scams. I know we've kind of discussed that a little bit. I'm gonna kind of give a few more, and then we'll go ahead and dive into questions. So if anyone has questions that come up, just feel free to go ahead and type them in the Q&A box and we'll get to them. So like I said, we've kind of mentioned some of these a little bit, but make sure to do your research before you're going to be purchasing, or like whether that's a product or a service, but make sure that you're utilizing a trustworthy source to do that research. So like a third-party site. The Better Business Bureau is a good one to turn to. If you're looking into like nonprofits or charities. Charity Navigator provides ratings of charities, but there's some other ones as well. If you're going to be using a card to pay, make sure that you're using a secure payment method. Look for encryption, and make sure that you keep record of all your transactions in a safe spot. So that way, if anything strange comes up, you know like where to look and see if that should be there or not. The emails thing we kind of mentioned already, but when you're using that electronic communication, make sure to carefully inspect all the details in the emails. Check for grammar errors, and then make sure that the email addresses match up with what you're expecting. If there's any hyperlinks that are included in the message body there, make sure to hover over them before you click on anything, or avoid clicking if anything seems suspicious. If you're unsure, just do not open it. Do not click on those links, and go ahead and report that to your company or your security agency or whatever resource you have to, report the phishing to, so that it can be further investigated. So this was also kind of mentioned, but I know Jenica brought up that a lot of scammers try to get people to act quickly. So make sure that you're kind of weary and watchful when you get something that says you need to act right now, or it just seems very urgent. In fact, there was a survey that the Better Business Bureau put out called their Small Business Scam Survey. So 49% of respondents in that survey that had been affected by scams reported that the scammers created a sense of urgency in that. So that just goes to show how prevalent that is. And that's just of what's reported and what's known. So we can, kind of predict that it's higher than that. So pause before you act and don't give in to that urgency. And then another thing that helps is being proactive. So seeking out knowledge about scams ahead of time and being proactive, if you have staff members, training your staff members on signs of scams, or making sure that you have the latest information and that you're kind of just always seeking out that information to keep informed. Limit who knows your financial information or who's kind of responsible for that. So that way it can be better able to be safe. And then seek out some free resources and information on scams. So some that I know of that come to mind to be informed on current scams are the Better Business Bureau has a scam tracker webpage resource. So that's a helpful one you can turn to. And that gives advice, or not advice, but it gives information on the current scams or scams that have happened, and it kind of filters it by category, which is nice. For example, charity scams or medical. So you can go ahead and actually apply the filters and look through those specifically to kind of narrow it down if you'd like. On their website, they also have, which I'm going to put in the chat, but they also have a scam prevention webpage entirely. So that has some more helpful and specific guidance. The Iowa Attorney General's office has a consumer protection division. Our office did a webinar with them in March of 2023. So if you're interested in that, that's on our YouTube channel. That one was more geared towards government imposter scams. But if you go to the Iowa Attorney General's website, they have a consumer protection section, and they'll actually talk about consumer alerts information. So I know that right now there's one on their site about a scam text going around about EBT cards being locked, but they kind of change that out with different information as it comes up. And then the Federal Trade Commission has some resources as well. They have a scam alert system that you can actually subscribe to. So I believe it's email that you'll get with just various scam alerts. So these are all some good resources to turn to, because as I mentioned, while we all care about this issue, we're not the experts in it, but just kind of wanted to provide you some general tips and some resources that you can turn to. So I'll put the links to those as well. And then I believe we can turn to the Q&A now, unless any of you had any other resources that came to mind or anything you'd want to add quick. But if not, it's okay. All right. So we have a question here. What is the best way to market during the holidays?
A good one. That's a good one. We had a business plan class here yesterday, and we had our marketing person here, and she mentioned something that hit a home run on it, because it was, as a business owner, you gotta find out who your clients is, or your clients are. You gotta do that research on who your clients are, and then market to that target market of your clients. If you're looking at demographics, if you're looking at age, make sure that you're doing the right marketing, having the right marketing strategy. It could be social media, it could be direct mailing, it could be through your website. That's the other thing, just having that credibility for the right target market. So first is understanding who your clients are, and then creating the plan for that. One of the things that I mentioned yesterday, if you look, one of the places online, social media that sells the most is TikTok. Why? Because we're always on the phone, but it might not work for every single business. So again, just do the market research on your target market and try to do the marketing for them.
100% say ditto everything Jose just said. Know where your customers' eyes are and get in front of them. The best tip that I've ever heard, especially this time of year, is finding ways to find your customers through other businesses, and find those businesses who also maybe are in front of your potential customers, and talk with them about doing a partnership of some sort, so that you can share the audience that they have, and cross-pollinating your information on your socials or wherever else, and in their store versus yours, or vice versa, to be in front of somebody else's customers in that way could allow you to grow your audience in a very natural way, especially locally.
That's great. Thank you. Looks like
Martin, Ashley,
go
there.
ahead. Yeah.
And I'm sorry to cut you off, because Jenica mentioned something about the social. If you're marketing through social media, you need to have consistency. If you're posting something, you gotta make sure that you're posting every single day, to make sure that you're creating that audience. Because if you post today and then you don't post in the next couple, 3, 4 days, a week, you're not being constant. So your material is not going to be shown as much in social media. So stay constant. I know it can take some time, but it will pay off if you're using social media.
No worries at all, Jose. That was a good point. So thank you. We have another. So I know there was a question that looks like it got put into the answered. Says, can you share information on how to contact the panelists for more information on how to access their support? I know I shared the website in the chat, but are you all okay with if I share your email addresses as well?
I
Awesome.
will note that the best way, if you would like to reach out to SBDC in general, is to go to our website, is iowasbdc.org. We have a button that says request counseling, and then you can select a center that's nearest to you. Because I know this is probably a statewide webinar. And again, I mentioned I'm in Des Moines, Leah's in Ames, but that way you can connect to a center that's closest to you. So going to our website is probably the better way to get in contact with us than our emails.
Great, thank you. This kind of goes along with the marketing. Do you have any resources available that will help create video marketing or a class for it?
At the Iowa Center, we have a marketing class. It is every month. I believe our class, our marketing class, it is today. And you can find it. You can also find it on our YouTube channel, and I'll give that information to Ashley over here so she can post it. But again, once you have that marketing class through the Iowa Center, then you get a coach, and you get a marketing coach, someone that you can bounce ideas with, that can help you through your marketing process.
anytime somebody wants a live class or anything, I send them to the Iowa Center. So that's what we usually do. But I will mention that also on our website, we have an e-commerce and digital marketing resources tab under our resources that does have some digital marketing webinar series. And then also I mentioned Shop Iowa specifically before. They also will help you get your products online. It isn't specifically e-commerce or video, but they do have support for businesses trying to get their stuff online right away.
Great, thank you. Making note of that as well. And yeah, Jose, if you'd like to oh, perfect. I'll go ahead and put that in the chat for everyone to see. Thank you very much. Perfect timing. So, and then we have another question. I know, Jenica, I feel like you kind of covered some of this. But if anyone has any additional comments, this question is about e-commerce. Do you have any class or training about e-commerce for business?
Currently, we do not have anything like that. But just like the SBDC with Jenica and Leah, you can always go into the Iowa Center website and schedule an appointment, and we'll put you through a triage process. And then depending on what you're looking for, if it's e-commerce, we designate you a coach, and that's a coach that is going to be specific on the service that you are looking for. In this case, e-commerce, we can put you with our marketing coach here, which she knows about e-commerce because she's also a small business owner that does e-commerce.
Great, thank you. Anyone else has any questions, feel free to keep putting those in there. While we're waiting, I'll add some more links because I noticed that some of my links didn't copy and paste correctly, so I'm sorry about that. So I'll make sure to go back in and add some more of those.
While she's doing that, I would be remiss to not mention we are getting to the end of the year, and there is a new requirement for any small business that has an LLC or corporation. Please do your research and find the beneficial ownership information report. And if you just Google beneficial ownership information report, BOIR, you will find it. It is a free filing. It shouldn't cost you anything, but it's essentially a requirement that the federal government, the Federal Treasury Department, is requiring of small businesses to report who the beneficial owners are of those small businesses now. So please do it. It's due by the end of the year if you were an existing business before the beginning of 2024. And if you have started a new business in 2024, it is a requirement. So please do your research and get that done.
Thank you, Jenica. Good point, and I appreciate you bringing that up. That's actually something that I meant to kind of say during my scam prevention tips as well. So I really appreciate you bringing that up. Our office cannot, we're the state, and this is a federal government thing. And our office, unfortunately, can't answer most questions about this for you all because we can't provide anything that could be considered legal advice. However, I would encourage everyone to, like Jenica said, do your research on this. And on that point, if you get a solicitation in the mail or an email or something like that that encourages you to file this report for a expense, right? Like if they want to charge you money to file the report, just know that there may be some like legitimate businesses that could file that for you, but it's actually free to file the report. So it's no cost to you as a business owner to file this report with the federal government. Since it is a new requirement for many businesses, not all businesses, but many businesses. So to file that report, you're going to want to actually go to, and perfect, Leah, I just saw that you put that in the chat. So I'll go ahead and paste that so everyone can see it as well. But it's on FinCEN's beneficial ownership information webpage specifically. So it's going to be FinCEN, so FINCEN, the Financial Crimes Enforcement Network. .gov/BOI, and I'll go ahead and put the link that Leah just sent to me in the chat as well. So,
and actually the link that I sent, sorry, is actually, they have a very, very, very robust Q&A or frequently asked questions that they have built out, over this past year or so, I would say. So if you're wondering, more about it, or any kind of details about, what is this filing, who needs to file, who files it, all those types of questions, their Q&A, or their frequently asked question, is very good.
Perfect, thank you. Good point. And yes, they actually just revised those recently. So I did go ahead and put that link in the chat for you all, and then I went ahead and put the link to the Iowa Center's marketing class as well, and then the link that Jenica sent me for the digital marketing information offered by SBDC. I also put some links to the websites, as I've mentioned before, and then some scam-related resources. So the Attorney General's office, the Better Business Bureau, scam headquarter webpage, and then the FTC scams webpage as well. And then there is a link that says Gov Delivery. That's a subscription service that a lot of government agencies use to send out newsletters. That's for the Federal Trade Commission's consumer alerts, if you want to sign up for that or subscribe to those. And then I put links to the past webinars that our office has hosted before on scams with the Better Business Bureau, Institute for Marketplace Trust, and the Iowa Attorney General's office. Yes, good information. Looks like we have another question here. Someone made a good point that they do return calls from FinCEN. They want to assure people to do that. So good point there. Anyone else has anything, go ahead and put that in the chat. And I'll go ahead and also email these resources as well to everyone too. So that way you have them on email as well, in case you weren't able to get everything down, or just so you have them in another place. So.
While you're doing that, Ashley, I would like to say, as business owner, there are a lot of things that are happening. There are a lot of moving parts. 24 hours is not enough for a business owner. I wish they had more time. But if you need to know something business related, if you need help connecting with someone, if you have any question about your business, it is important to reach out to those organizations that are going to help you, like SBDC, like the Iowa Center, your local chamber, like Jenica said, and your local economic development. Those are people that are there to help out, to provide information for you, to provide services for you. So make sure that you're taking advantage of those. Many small businesses don't know, but all you need to do is ask, and you will get the help.
That's a good point. Thank you. And then, Jose, I know that you had sent me a link to a training. Is it okay if I share that with everyone? It was a security related training.
Yeah, it's a security training that we had in the past from that is on our YouTube channel.
Perfect, thank you. I figured that's why you sent it to me. I just wanted to make sure. So everyone, I just put that in the chat as well. The most recent thing there.
One other just kind of general thought that I'll share that someone mentioned to me this morning, and I think it was very timely, is just don't feel bad about self-promoting. Like no one is more passionate about your business than you. No one knows your business better than you. No one is going to be a bigger cheerleader than yourself. And sometimes that can feel weird, but just do it. Just share yourself, share your product, share your story, just get it out there for people to hear. Someone told me this morning, they were like, sometimes I feel like I'm posting every day and I ask people, do I post too much? And they're like, I can always just unfollow you if it's too much. Like, just put it out there. Like, just don't question it. Just toot your own horn and be your biggest cheerleader. And that's contagious and that will follow. And I think that's a really powerful thing to do this time of year and all year round.
And I'll just mention one of the things that always like gets me as a consumer. I don't have my own business, so I don't know it from that side, but as a consumer, make sure you have an ask. If you're posting, if you're out there, if you're doing something, ask your customers to do something. Give them something that they can do for you. Tell people what will actually help you. And there are a lot of people out there that want to support small businesses, but just don't know how. So make sure that you're not just offering your products, but also telling ways that they can support your small business in as many ways as you possibly can.
Those are great points. And I know that I would agree with that as well. I think like calls to action can be very helpful. And I know that like as a consumer, I also don't have my own business, but I have a lot of like passion projects. And as a consumer, I know that like whenever I see a business owner being super passionate about something, or just very, knowledgeable and passionate about it, then that really kind of draws me in and makes me want to know more about their business or their services. So. Okay, looks like we don't have any more questions right now. I have a couple of closing remarks, but first I'll give you all the opportunity to kind of say some closing remarks if you'd like. And thank you again for your time today and joining us.
I think just as Jose mentioned earlier, don't be afraid to ask. We're all here to help. There's plenty of different organizations in Iowa that are happy to help with just honestly whatever you have going on, good, bad, or otherwise. We're here.
Not much. Go with your holiday season. If it's planning, do your planning. If it's getting more sales, I hope that you get more sales and just try to support your local community as business owners. Also try to support the other business owners that are close to you, and that will be rewarded as well.
I'll just end with remember that you get out what you put in. I know that business owners put in all kinds of effort that they possibly can. But remember to pick your head up out of your business once in a while and look out and find your customers and where they're at, because sometimes we get to a point where we're thinking, oh, they'll just come in, they'll just come to me. And that's not always the case. You've got to go to them too. So make that effort to go out to your customers in as many ways as you can. And have fun.
These are all great points. Thank you very much. And so thank you all for joining us today, to all the attendees and everything. And then thank you again to Leah, Jose, and Jenica for joining us and providing all that wonderful information and insight. Appreciate that. And we appreciate everyone's time, attention, and engagement. As I've said, I put a lot of resources in the chat for you all. I also just added Leah, Jose, and Jenica's email addresses in there too. But as Jenica mentioned, it might be more beneficial to go to SBDC's website if you want to reach out specifically to SBDC, just to make sure that you're getting connected with a counselor that's closest to you. However, their email addresses are in there for you, and I'm going to be sending out the other information in email as well. You'll receive an email from me with some informational resources, as I've just mentioned. And there's also going to be a webinar feedback survey in there. And then later on, you'll receive an additional email, and that's going to have the webinar recording in it when that's ready to go. But just want to thank you all again for your time. And remember to support small this season. I also want to give a shout out to Jamie from the Secretary of State's office. She's been helping me out with moderating the Q&A. So I want to thank her as well. And thank you all. Have a great rest of your day and week. See you.